what can you tell us about what's really going on in Chicago?
Look, I mean, they made a coaching change for a reason. And they brought in Jim Boylen to be the heavy. He's going to change the culture. That's his mandate. And from what I'm told, Gar Foreman and Jim and Pax were in the meeting that they had. And I think he has the full support of management. I think he has the full support of ownership to be doing this. And it's one thing if you're going to call meetings, if you're going to lay down the law here, you're going to try to change the culture, and you don't have support of management. But he has the full support not only of his bosses but of ownership, and players know that. And from what I'm told, they had this players meeting, and in the NBA you don't practice after a back-to-back usually, right? So I understand players being concerned about that. I understand. From what I understand, it was mostly Zach LaVine who was trying to stick up for his fellow teammates, being a leader on the team, saying we shouldn't have to have a practice here. This is too much. This is excessive. From what I'm told, Zach and Jim have met since this, and they've cleared the air. They feel okay now. Chris Haynes and Vinny Good will have a report on Yahoo that they had spoken to the Players Association before all this was happening on Sunday. But I think
spoken to the Players Association to sort of protest the fact that, hey, after a back-to-back, we're being made to practice here. Is that what?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think that was what you would do. That's why you have a union. You go to them and you check if we're not going to practice. What are our rights? How does the union feel about this? But from what I understand, Zach and Jim Boylen have already spoken about.
They've since talked about that.
And there's talk even of forming a leadership group of players that if there's ever issues like this again, they know how to go to the coaching staff and they open the lines of communication. So I think this is, you have to look at this big picture, which is he was put in as head coach for a reason. And if you have an organizational mandate to try to change a culture, this is how you do it. And you make statements like Jim Boylen obviously was trying to do on Sunday. And
I covered one of the weirdest things in NBA history. The 2000 Nuggets boycott of practice.
Yes.
I don't know if a lot of people remember that. Where Nick Van Exel and George McLeod drove around the Pepsi Center and made sure none of their teammates came in for practice.
Wow.
They were upset at then coach Dan Issel because they had just had a long road trip. They played terrible. They had to gas up in Sioux Falls or something on the way home. Got in 3 or 4 in the morning, and Dan's like, we're practicing. And Nick and George, were actually captains of the team, were like, no, we're not. I think Tariq Abdul-Wahad and Ryan Bowen were the only 2 guys that ended up
they slipped through?
Slipping through that
the net
Ferrari caravan around the Pepsi Center, whatever they were driving at the time, and getting in, and they ended up just sending
Only
Ryan
on this show are you getting
home.
this level of information. I love this. And how did that play out in terms of the culture of the team?
It was bad for a while, and CNN even showed up. They were supposed to play Miami, talking about not playing Miami. They did. But there was some problems. It was a clash that it took a while to get away, but
I remember covering the Lakers during the lockout year when they came back in 2011. And Mike Brown that was his first year, so what a year to take over, right? You're trying to change the system, trying to do your thing after
training camp,
training camp. And so he would just practice all the time because Mike Brown always practiced anyway. And one of the players said, I think what really hurt was they were playing a back-to-back against Denver. It was a home and away. And so the away in Denver, that's always a tough one. And he wanted to have a shoot-around on the second half of back-to-back in Denver. And one of the players said to me, we were playing the same team. Why do we need to have a shoot-around as we played the last night? But the point was not to play, not because you're playing the Nuggets again. It was because they didn't have a training camp. They were still putting in a system. And the players went along with it. But the difference on that one is Mike Brown, he had the job. He had been empowered. But he didn't have that locker room yet. And he didn't have Mitch Kupchak showing up in a team meeting.
So that was the thing. And yes, I think you're absolutely right that it is so important to note ownership is behind Jim Boylen here. Management is behind Jim Boylen here. They have said to him, we want you to, quote, whip these guys, drill sergeant them into shape. If the players never buy in and you beat them down and beat them down and beat them down and they don't buy into that tough love, it won't work.
Correct.
So there are ways to do that, and Jim Boylen might completely know how to do that. I'm waiting to see. Am I the only one who sees the irony that Tom Thibodeau worked guys too hard, practiced too much, quote unquote, was too hard with guys, had a quote gruff manner with guys? And they got him out of there for Fred Hoiberg, who then got out of there for a tough drill sergeant kind of coat. No, okay, that's
things just come back around, don't they?
What can you do?